If you guys follow me over on Instagram, it will come as no surprise to you that I love my food. In fact, on multiple occasions, you guys have pointed out to me that I should probably just become a food blogger already. But really and truly, all of that was leading up to just one moment where in the summertime, I released a video right here on this channel talking about 5 of the foods that I've tried since moving to Sweden and absolutely love. And you guys loved that video. In case you've not seen it yet, I'll be leaving the link down in the description section down below. Lots of you guys had lots to say about that video. Lots of you thought I made some really great choices, but I also missed out some of your favourite Swedish foods. And of course, in a list where there's only 5 places, you're going to be missing some out. So ever since, I've seen lots and lots of calls that I should do a follow-up talking about my updated favourite foods here in Sweden. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Because if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I have to say that as soon as I put out that video and started scrolling through your comments, I could not believe some of the foods that I had left out. Some of my absolute favourites here in Sweden that never crossed my mind when I made that list. So this is kind of like my reconciliation video. Today I'm sharing 5 more foods here in Sweden that I absolutely love and adore since trying. And we're going to find out if you guys agree with me or if there's still things I'm missing off this list. And yeah guys, it goes without saying that we're going to be talking about some really tasty treats here today in this video. So consider this fair warning. If you've not eaten yet, I suggest you pause, go and make yourself a nice snack, maybe even brew up some coffee and then come back all fed and ready to enjoy 5 of the foods that I absolutely love since moving to Sweden. And with that said, let's dive right in. Number 1, and my biggest omission from the last video, is very specific. Vesta Buttons ost pie. And this one might sound just a teeny tiny bit familiar to those of you guys that have seen the previous video I did on this topic, because in that video I admitted that pies weren't really something that I was into until I moved here to Sweden, and then I absolutely fell in love with the way that the Swedes make their pies. It's completely different to how we do in the UK. And then I went on to reel off a list of different types of pie that I've had since moving here to Sweden that I absolutely love. I mentioned, for example, taco pie, broccoli pie, kale pie, but there was one fatal omission from that list, and that was the Vesta Buttons ost pie. Fortunately, you guys had my back, and you were there to hold me account for the mistake that I had made. And I saw hundreds and hundreds of comments in the comment section of that video pointing out that Vesta Buttons ost pie had to be on the list, and if I hadn't tried it yet, I damn well needed to. And ladies and gentlemen, today I'm here to say I had indeed tried and loved Vesta Buttons ost pie. I just maybe forgot to mention it in the video. I know there's no excuses, that's why it's getting its own item on this time around. If you've never heard of or never tried this creation before, let me just try and describe a piece of the magic to you. Vesta Buttons ost is a type of cheese here in Sweden from the Västerbotten region of the country, and it's like nothing you've tried before. Made from cow's milk, the Vesta Buttons ost cheese is a special type of cheese that is super aromatic, it's a super hard cheese, and it's got the best flavour, partly because it's sat and stored for 14 months before it's sold in shops. There's even aged and mature versions of this cheese that you can buy in your local ICA or Hemköp, and I tell you what, it's granular, it just falls apart as you take it off of your cheese block, and I have to say, it's to die for. So it's easy to see why that when you slap this together with the traditional Swedish pie mix and create a Vesta Buttons ost pie, it just couldn't be better. It's heaven on a plate. So if you've not tried one for yourself before, I highly recommend that after you're done with this video, you go look up a recipe, get yourself the ingredients, prepare a side salad garnish with balsamic vinegar glaze on top, and you will not be disappointed. You're about to have the best night of your life. The second thing on this list of the 5 Swedish foods that I absolutely love is a Valenbae. And for those of you like me who are from abroad, the name alone doesn't give much away, does it? But let me tell you what, the Valenbae is very much worth your time. It's a very traditional Swedish patty which is made out of ground veal meat, and it's mixed up with egg yolks, and you put some cream in, and once you've got that mixture together and made that patty shape, you cover the whole thing in breadcrumbs. Swedish viewers, is it just me, or does the Valenbae kind of remind you of an oversized kroppkakor which has been put with its flat side facing down? I realise the concept is totally different, completely different ingredients, least of all when you cut into your Valenbae and the inside of the mix just begins to ooze out all of the butter and the cream, and it just looks amazing. It's to die for. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I have to admit the veal meat really isn't something that I would be ordering before I came to Sweden. In fact, even when I first came here and tried a Valenbae, I didn't actually know that it was veal meat that I was having until afterwards, otherwise I probably wouldn't have ordered it, because it's just not something that's really familiar to my palate. It's kind of a bit like ox, it's not something we would order in the UK or as tourists from the UK abroad. But ever since I tried it, I've been hooked, and now I crave it a lot. If you haven't tried it before, I strongly recommend it, but make sure you're serving serving it the right way. That means you're going to be having peas on the side, then you're going to be having some carrot, and then some boiled or preferably mashed potato, and then of course the Swedes' favourite ingredient of all time, lingonberries. And whilst we're on the topic of lingonberries as an accompaniment to a meal, that's something the Swedes do quite often, and it's also a feature of the third thing on my list today, which is actually a very obvious choice. And I have to admit that this food stuff is something that I purposefully left off of my list last time. I just felt like it was a bit too obvious of a guess, and I felt like you guys would say, have you even really been in Sweden that long? Have you really tried our foodstuffs? Of course you like Swedish meatballs. But then I read the comment section and people were horrified that they hadn't made the list. So this time, Swedish meatballs deserve their place here. They are really good, but I recommend that you do it the right way. And what I mean by that is that we all know that IKEA has made the Swedish meatball world famous, but if you want to do it properly, make the meatballs from scratch yourself at home, serve them with preferably again mashed potato and then some lingonberry jam. You will not regret it. It tastes so much better when you do it yourself when you go out to a proper restaurant to eat it. I'm sorry, IKEA. And if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, I have to admit that I didn't really know before I moved to Sweden what it was that differentiated a Swedish meatball from other types of meatballs. I knew that Sweden was famous for these meatballs, but I just didn't know what it was that made it special here. But now I see that of course it's the form, it's the consistency. Usually they're served without sauce. If you're having any sauce at all, it's a brown sauce. It's just not really the same as the one that you would expect to find in the US, for example, or in Italy. And I have to say, the Swedish meatball rules. Sticking with what appears to be the accidental theme of today's video, which is meat in Swedish cuisine, the fourth thing on my list today is also a type of meat, and it's something that I'd never heard of before I moved to Sweden. Falukorv. Now this sausage is a staple here in Sweden. It's involved in all sorts of different meals. You'll often find it with various different types of accompaniments and in different types of combinations. But it's been a staple since about the 1970s from what I can tell, and ever since then the number of dishes that you can have with falukorv has just risen and risen. Now I ask that my international friends bear with me as I describe the ingredients that go into a falukorv, because let me tell you what, it's nothing revolutionary, it's not going to blow you away, but it's the combination that somehow makes it possible and really makes it work. All that's going into this sausage is about 40 to 45% beef, and then on top of that you're going to be having some salt, some spices, some fat and some flour. And it is that simple. My personal favourite combination is falukorv in the oven, served with mashed potato. What you basically do is before you get that sausage in the oven, you chop little slices in it and fill the slices alternately with onion and then apple, and then you drizzle the whole thing in mustard and ketchup, whack all of that in the oven, and then as I say afterwards, you serve it up with a big lump of mashed potato, preferably as soft and creamy as possible. It's really great. Again, nothing revolutionary about the falukorv, but I have to say somehow the combination works. But a word of advice that I picked up from some of my Swedish friends is watch out if you're going to go and buy one in the shops for yourself, because some providers don't meet the standards to be called a falukorv. Officially, you have to have at least 45% beef within that sausage for it to be considered a falukorv, and if you don't meet those standards, as some providers don't, then officially it's not one. So just watch out for that if you actually want meat in your sausage as opposed to, you know, some other kind of extracts or whatever. Just look out for that. But then if you get a good one, you're on to a winner. And we're sticking with the theme of the sausage for my fifth and final thing that makes my list today, which has to be korv stroganoff. Now I'm told that this is the Swedish answer to beef stroganoff, a super popular dish here in Europe, particularly in France and Belgium. But here in Sweden, they replace that beef with sausage, the word for which here in Sweden is korv, and it's specifically that falukorv that I was just talking about, chopped up into small chunks, fried with onion, and then mixed with all sorts of spices, and then after that you're going to be making a sauce which is based on cream, and as well as that you're going to be having tomato puree and some other mustard and things like that also thrown into that recipe, and then together that mixture bubbles and boils away, and then you serve it on top of a bed of rice traditionally. And I have to admit, for me, there's just something super cozy that comes with eating a bowl of korv stroganoff on a nice cold winter's day. If you've not tried it before, I definitely recommend it. It's just a cozy staple here in Sweden. It's not going to blow you away, it's nothing revolutionary, but somehow the combination just really makes you feel warm and cozy. And let's be honest, you guys, as the temperature begins to drop outside, who doesn't want to feel warm and cozy? And with that, we've reached the end of another video, you guys. This one all about 5 more foods here in Sweden that I absolutely love and adore since moving here. I would love to hear from you guys. Now that I've across 2 different videos talked about 10 of the foods here in Sweden that I really enjoy, have I covered the best of the best here in Sweden, or are there still dishes that I'm missing out? You've got to let me know down in the comment section down below. As I said, I've also left the link to part 1 if you haven't checked that out yet and you're thinking, oh my god, you missed some really important dishes. maybe they're in the first video, so go and check that out. And then if you're not subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you could do that. Smash me a like if you haven't done so already. The support means a lot and helps to make sure that I can keep making more and more videos for you guys. You guys know by now I'm uploading at least once a week, so check back for that next week. And until then, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys being here. Have a great day wherever you're up to, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.